One of the biggest ones I always come back to is contract preparation, and I don't mean the actual contract as important as that is, but I mean how to professionally place an offer and how to know what terms, conditions, and special conditions that are outside the norm are really not just beneficial, but really quite paramount to the end result. And we do get creative with our special conditions. It's not always viable in the current market. It has become, increasingly more difficult. But at the same time, I feel like, a lot of our transactions, even recently, have some very clever special conditions in there that allow our investors to achieve results far sooner and far more creatively.
And we're only talking about this yesterday, is the levels of negotiations in a deal. It goes well beyond just price, because that's where people see value. They think until you get to the point where you're discussing terms and the prospect's not even understanding that that's a term that can be used and the benefits associated with those terms, and educating some of the agents at times around what they look like and the importance and relevance of those specific terms based on the client's criteria as an investor. So it's very important that you going back through the process, and the benefits associated with that is having a strategic plan to move forward for a start, which most people don't have. That's critical in being able to take even the first step to get you closer to what it is that you think you're looking to achieve. And then being able to use the metric, the information, the data, the analysis, AI, all that important relevant research criteria and tools to be able to sort of identify these locations that are going to be, growth options long term, but also have the balance of yield and cash flow. So, stepping through that strategic plan to the location, and then moving on to the type of property that's going to meet that criteria, very, very important, that fits your criteria, because you may not have the money to actually implement anything right now. You may need time on your side to then go through to the negotiation stage of terms, contract price, what the requirements are. Then, once successful, of getting to the building and pest inspection stage. And then being able to dissect that, because that is an overwhelming process in itself.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, in an existing asset, as you know, and we dissect them every day, there's a lot of minor and major non-conformances, and that can cause confusion, overwhelm, anxiety. Is the place going to fall down? But that's the responsibility of the inspector. So we'll weed and sift through all that to basically make it more meaningful and tangible in layman's terms as to, what are the key items here that we need resolved, and how do we go about that process? And once that's agreed, that can sometimes be a renegotiation again of the contract price, or how we're going to go about that process. And then once we've secured that, it's okay, well, how do we insure the property? So having access to a broker that will give you a myriad of different quotes from different providers for that specific property. And then once again, we get into the property management stage, don't we? And how does that unfold?
You look at all of that and you wonder how on earth you do it yourself. And, we do this every day. We have a whole team that overlooks, this whole process. But to answer your question, the property management stage, can often be one that I think our clients sometimes don't particularly think about at the start of our process. A lot of these things potentially aren't thought about at the start of their journey until, we really inform them that it is a premium end-to-end service. And with that, we don't stop at settlement. The biggest, result for us is for that property to be tenanted. Purchase price is very, very important. But if that property isn't tenanted, your cash flow position is being impacted on a weekly basis. All of our message, all of our niche, positive cash flow properties, it all goes out the window. So this is incredibly important to us. And, we've got relationships with key property management agencies in the locations which we purchase. We've negotiated special rates over and above clients, and we really handhold through that experience to make sure premium rents are achieved. They're achieved as soon as settlement occurs, if not prior, so that cash flow can be achieved from day one. And we're checking in with the client, we're checking in with the property manager if necessary, to make sure that this is a hiccup-free environment, I guess, for a long-term investment. Asking the questions that the client may not know how to ask or what to ask. So you know, as I said, it certainly doesn't stop at settlement. It doesn't stop at we found a property and sign a contract. The premium service is an ongoing end-to-end service, I find.
Yeah, and then tax depreciation reports for that particular asset if it's viable. And so it goes well beyond, just, find a property because you read some location in the newspaper, or at a barbecue, a friend told you should buy here. Or you listen to your accountant who's good at crunching numbers but not actually good at identifying where or what to buy in what market. So doing that thorough analysis type work, being on the ground, is very, very important to understand the heat that's actually in the markets at that point in time and what the real demand is for investments in that area. So it really is that end-to-end experience. And I'm going to touch on, just to finish off this question, we had a prospect come to us the other day, rang me. He said, look, Mark, I didn't engage your services. And I said, that's okay. I said, how was the experience with the acquisition you did make? And he said, horrible. I said, well, what was the reason? And he said that he purchased a property in a similar location to what we were buying for our client. Paid $375. He said the acquisition price was no challenge. It was the advertised rental expected for that property was $370 a week. So what he found was that the sales agent had sold it well. The buyer's agent hadn't supported by doing that due diligence to determine whether that is fair and reasonable rent for that property in the marketplace. So the property's been sitting there for 8 weeks, untenanted. You're talking about cash flow and the impact. Don't worry about cash flow so much. Let's have a look at the overwhelm, the anxiety, the pressure, the stress that's creating on the mortgage that's sitting there, not being paid because there's no income. So you look at that as a contrast, going with a cheaper option. You get what you pay for. And there's no different with engaging a buyer's agent that has that experience, that is an active investor in the marketplace, is very, very powerful when you look at that example.
And I'm just thinking back to, we sent our settlement pack to one of our most recent clients, and the message we got when she received that was, wow, you guys really think of everything. And there just couldn't be a bigger compliment at the end of a service, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely.